Can you hear me?
Yes.
Judge, can you hear me?
All right, good afternoon, everyone. We are on the record, Missy.
Yes, we are.
We are on the record in the 13th Judicial District, the District Court of Greenwood County, Kansas. On the 13th Judicial District, Greenwood County, Kansas. This matter does come on for hearing in Greenwood number 2025 LM 023, State of Kansas versus Catherine J. Robinson versus Kelly Wheeler, aka Kelly Gilchrist, aka Kelly Collier, I'm not sure if that's Collier. Several different last names. Please announce appearances.
Yes, Your Honor. Karen McIlvain appears on behalf of Kathy Robinson, who also appears in person. And I would note that the defendant does not seem to be on the Zoom or here.
All right, so at the Greenwood County Courthouse, are you on the Pleasant View Village case, ma'am?
Oh, yes, I am.
Okay, and the gentleman in the car, Eric Holmes, which case of either are you on, sir?
He's on Pleasant View Village also.
Okay. All right, well, we are on the record, as I said, in Catherine J. Robinson versus Kelly Wheeler, aka Gilchrist, and other last names. And this is a petition for eviction and unlawful detainer. Ms. McIlvain, I have read your petition. I see a summons was issued. The return of the service of summons says that it was personally served upon Kelly Wheeler, aka Kelly Gilchrist, aka Kelly Boyd, aka Kelly Coiler, maybe, at 107 North Poplar in
This is
Eureka,
Alyssa's
Kansas,
fault.
on September 9th of 2025. So at this time, it looks like you do have legal notice. And are you ready to proceed, Ms. McIlvain?
Yes, Your Honor. In this case, what has occurred is Catherine Robinson purchased property from William Wheeler, and I filed the deed actually as Exhibit B, shows her purchase, and she purchased that on July 24th. And when she purchased that, the defendant was living on the premises, and she had been living on the premises prior to that, and she had not been paying rent, and she was not there by permission of anybody. So when Catherine purchased the property, she gave the notice, which we filed as Exhibit A, advising her that she needed to move within 30 days. And she did not move. And so we're asking that she be be removed from the property under the Forcible Detainer Act, which allows you to set a date for her to be out. And then we would also ask that if she isn't out by that certain date, that order of restitution be on the order that indicates that we could have her removed if necessary.
Go ahead. Do you have a date in mind that you're going to be asking her to be out by?
Catherine, could you go on? Your mic is off. Could you turn your mic on, Kathy?
Just click on that little red microphone with the line through it if you see one. If you're on a telephone, you can usually run your finger down the side or the bottom of the screen and it'll pop up.
There, I think I'm on.
Okay.
Prefer immediately if we can, because of cleaning out the house. The city has the first weekend of every month that we can do a free dump, but the one in October is the last one.
For the
Well,
year.
Yes, Your Honor. And I think the other issue is, as of now, the utilities are off. So there's no indication of what the condition of that house is at that time, if it could, because the utilities have been off since April. So it's really a person to be anyway with these. So I guess if by the time she got notice, I would say maybe a week, Kathy, would that be okay?
Yes, that would
Because
give
that
her a
would give her
chance.
time to move, to get her stuff out and move.
Yes, I'd be all right with that.
1 week, 7 days would be September 25th. All right. Do you intend to call your witness, Ms. McIlvain, or since she fails to appear, are you asking for default judgment?
Yes, I'm asking for default judgment now that we've given you a summary of the situation.
And that summary is consistent with the allegations in the petition, which I will find are true by default, since the defendant was given notice and fails to appear. Judgment is granted. Court finding the allegation in the petition for eviction and unlawful detainer are true and correct as recited by Karen McIlvain, counsel, and at this time, the court does grant that the defendant, Kaylee Wheeler, with her multiple alias last names, is in default and has been served with petition and notice of this hearing, that the allegations in the petition are true and correct, and that the defendant is ordered to vacate the premises on or no later than September 25th, 2025. Plaintiff is awarded possession thereafter of on or after of 107 North Poplar, Eureka, Greenwood County, Kansas, the property in question, and the right is reserved to plaintiff to pursue damages once the possession of the property is physically obtainable.
Your Honor, could we also have an order that restitution be applicable if she does not move, as opposed to setting it for another hearing date?
Restitution will be ordered in that fashion, yes. If you would please
Yes.
journalize all.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay, you're welcome. If there's nothing further, we'll be in recess on Robinson versus Wheeler.
Oh, Kathy, you can go.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, this next case, I may need some help with pronunciation, but this will now be on the record in Greenwood, UW 2025. Just click on, you can just close and hang up, whatever you need to do, Miss Robinson.
I'm working on it. Okay.
I can remove you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So that wasn't the case?
All right, we are now on the record in Greenwood County, Kansas, the 13th Judicial District, case number GW 2025 LM 204, Pleasant View Village Incorporated versus Patricia, is it Vojkovic? Is that close?
It's close. It's supposed to be white cabbage, but we were teased about sounding like a vegetable, so I pronounced it more how it's spelled, Vojkovic, so you were very close.
Vojkovic.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, well, forgive me if I say it again wrong. I know names are important and I don't like to mispronounce them, but occasionally, and maybe too often than I'd like, I will. So forgive me in advance, please. Thank you. All right, are you going to have counsel represent you today, Ms. Vojkovic?
No, I'm not.
All right. There is, we are here on a limited action petition for eviction, lawful detainer and damages between 500 and 5,000. Much in the same fashion as you may have just heard in the case before you. Are you contesting this petition? Are you arguing that you may have a legal defense, or do you want to have a hearing on this for the court to determine? Or are you stipulating agreeing to the allegations and the eviction?
You know, there's a lot of choices. I am disagreeing with it, so I would like a hearing.
Okay. All right. And Ms.
Your Honor, I am a neurodivergent
McIlvain
person
for the
with
plaintiff. Are you
complex
ready to proceed?
PTSD.
We are.
All right. You may either make your opening statement or call your first witness, whichever you prefer.
Okay, I'll open with a brief opening statement. First of all, I am appearing on behalf of Pleasant View Village, both as the attorney and I'm also an officer of Pleasant View Village. So they are being represented here as the organization. In this case, we've had several situations with the defendant that have come up where she has violated the HUD lease agreement that she has. We run a HUD housing organization for elderly and disabled people. And under that lease, there's several requirements which she failed to comply with. And she was given notice on several of these over the years, of which she has not complied with them. And she continues to be in violation of the lease. The one that has probably risen to the situation that we're here today is she most recently failed to pay her utilities as she had in the past, but this time they were off for approximately 2 weeks. And in that time period, her refrigerator wasn't working and there was garbage. And so what happened is there was a bunch of major smell and bugs coming from her unit. And she failed to take care of that. Ended up damaging the refrigerator beyond repair. It had to be hauled off to the dump, and even the dump didn't want it. and but in any event, that was kind of the cream of the crop. But we've listed in this, which I say all arisen violation. I'd like to first of all, Eric Holmes is a man contract, helps manage property. He contacts residents, work for needed repairs, or else he makes repairs. He's up there on a regular basis, and he's basically aware of the residents and their status and things that are occurring. So that's kind of his background. Is that correct, Eric? And you're going to have to turn on your mic.
Look on the little red microphone.
He's on his phone, so.
You can run your finger down the side of the bottom. You see that red microphone? If you do, just kind of click on that with your finger.
Okay, Karen is actually
Okay,
pretty
let me
with
set
it.
off. There you
Okay.
go.
Yes, that's true.
Okay, Eric. So,
Put him on your, please. Please raise your right hand, sir. You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Very well. Ms. McElvain, please proceed.
okay. Mr. Holmes, are you aware of provisions that are under the HUD lease that the defendant signed?
Yes.
Okay. And have you had occasion to have to address issues with the defendant over a period of time since she's moved in, basically?
Yes, multiple occasions.
The audio is great for me.
Are you able to go through some of the things that have occurred, or do you want me to go through them with you at first?
You can go through them and I can reinstate my position of what happened.
Okay. So one of the issues, and I hate, this is kind of a difficult situation because our feeling is, and since the defendant is here in person, our feeling is that she needs to be in a place that can help take care of her. She's not able to take out the trash. She says she's not able to care for her stuff. She doesn't always seem to be based in reality. For examples, they've had occasion where she's has seen her husband or is out looking for her husband. Is that correct, Eric?
Yes.
Okay. And she's also been looking for her cat. And does she have a cat, Eric?
Not that I know of.
Okay. And has she appeared on this facility is located right above the school, and has she gone to the school grounds and tried to go in the school on occasions?
Yes.
Okay. Has she also taken a flashlight and looked into other of the units where there's other tenants?
Yes, I've had multiple residents call me about a flashlight in their window, and I told them to call the police if somebody's shining a flashlight in their window. But they told me that it was Pat, and I said, well, you still need to call the police, but I will talk to her. And I have talked to her on about that on multiple occasions.
Okay. And have you also found her trying to get into other people's units?
Yes, she's been trying to get into vacant units, the particularly unit number 2, what I've been currently working on because I just got somebody moved in. The last confrontation was over about 30 days ago. She was trying to get into 2. I told her she did not need to be getting into vacant units, that what's going on. And she said she got a text message that somebody and to meet them in unit 2 because they had information on Jack. And I said, well, show me the text message. She says it disappears. And I said, text messages usually don't disappear. And she said, well, I know you got information on Jack and you're not telling me, and got very angrily and verbal with me.
And who is Jack?
Jack is from what I understand, is her husband that has passed away.
Okay.
She got verbal with him, huh?
And have you had a situation where her utilities have been shut off?
Yes, there's been 2 occasions that her utilities shut off last year about the same time as the last time. It's every year about the time in May. It gets May and June. It gets shut off for the past 2 years.
Okay. And this last time when the utilities were shut off, was there a large or a terrible smell and bugs coming from her unit?
Yes, I got a report from a couple of residents that there was a horrible smell coming out of the main complex of the area, and they felt like it was coming from Pat's apartment. And after further investigation, it's a smell, and I asked her what's going on, and she said that her electricity is off.
Okay. So her refrigerator wasn't working.
Yes.
And when you had occasion to go speak with her about that, did you also find that she had a lot of trash and garbage sitting around?
Yes.
Okay. And are you aware of if she actually had put trash in her refrigerator?
Yes, I was been told by the lady that helped her clean up, Kyle Engel, that she was putting trash in her refrigerator to help mask some of the smell because she cannot take the trash out to the trash can. She's asked me on many occasions through text message or phone call if I could take her trash out. And I've told her, she said, because she can't lift it in the bin. And I said, if you get it by the bin, somebody will put it in there, or when I'm up there, I'll throw it in the bin. But she still proceeded not to take her trash out.
Okay. And have you had complaints from other tenants about her situation?
Yes, other tenants says when we get a new tenant that moves in up there, she always puts a note on their door asking them if they would take her trash out and give her rides and stuff like that. And it puts those new tenants that just moved in an awkward situation. And then when they do it, like usually the first time they try to help her. And then when they stop trying to help her because it becomes too much, she gets verbal and angry with them.
Okay. And we had put in the notice to her that she's harassed board members, managers, contract assistants, and other tenants. What are your remarks about that?
Last time we had the bug guy come spray, she called them because I usually put out a 48-hour notice that the bug company is coming to spray. And she went around me and called Flint Hills Pest and told them that she did not want her apartment sprayed because she is allergic to the spray. And Flint Hills Pest reassured her that nothing in that spray is going to bother or hurt her, but she says she didn't want her apartment sprayed. But because of HUD obligations, we have to spray those apartments, and we're contracted to spray those every quarterly.
And were there issues related to bugs in her apartment in particular that needed to be sprayed, given her situation of trash?
Yes.
Okay.
I was told there's bug activity in her apartment.
Okay. And has she called you late at night or at nighttime trying to get information from you or bothering you or?
There was one night at 10:30 at night, she called me, and I have the voicemail saying that she went out on her nightly walk and she found that there was a snake outside her apartment. And I reassured her that if she would clean up her patio and get rid of all the flower pots and stuff, there would be no bug activity or snake activity out there, that he's just probably trying to eat bugs. But when the daylight comes, I'll come over there and look. And I went around, looked, and found nothing.
Okay, but she called you at 10:30 at night about this.
Yes.
Have she called you other times and not left a message
Yes.
from what you can tell?
Yes.
Okay. With regard to the incident regarding the refrigerator, can you tell the court what has happened, what kind of happened in this situation, how it started and what ended up happening?
Well, we got phone calls from a concerned citizen, Kyle Engel, that Pat apartment without electricity, because Pat's electricity wouldn't have got turned on without Kyle's help. Kyle paid for her bill to get it turned back on. And it was off for 28 days. So we got a call. Ryan, the board member, got a call from Kyle about the electricity being off, and went in there to help clean up the apartment. And she said that she had to get bug spray and spray bugs, flies, gnats, maggots, everything out in the apartment and help clean up the apartment the best she could because of the nasty smell. And then I went in and looked and smelt the refrigerator and said, we got to get the refrigerator out of the complex, because that's what's smelling everything, because there was rotten meat and trash put inside, rotten meat in the freezer part and trash inside the refrigerator part. The smell.
Did you haul it off?
Yes, and I put ratchet straps around it so it wouldn't be open, and then I hauled it out of there with it leaking fluids out the bottom of the refrigerator.
Okay, and did you haul that away in your truck?
Yes.
And did your truck smell after doing that?
It smelled for 2 weeks. I spent probably $20 at the car wash trying to get it clean out of the bed of the truck.
And then had you made arrangements to take it to a local guy who kind of will accept junk or refrigerators and things like that?
Yes.
And was he there when you came with it?
Yes.
And was he willing to take it?
He said if he knew if it was this bad, he would not have took it.
Okay. And in doing that, did you feel like the refrigerator was ruined just from having sat there 28 days not being used?
Yes, there's no possible way in amount of bleach that could have cleaned that refrigerator.
Okay.
Because the smell was inside the motors. The motor, there was flies and maggots inside the motor of the refrigerator at the bottom. It was probably one of the worst experiences I've ever had in a long time.
Okay. And so you took the refrigerator away, and then did you take a used refrigerator into her apartment so she would have some sort of refrigerator to use?
Yes, I cleaned up a refrigerator out of a vacant unit and took it over to her to make sure she had a refrigerator so she could make sure she had food and so she could have food to eat till we decided what we were going to do on this situation.
Okay. And were you able to put it back in the in the kitchen part of the apartment, or was that still too messy, or what was the situation?
It was still too messy from not being cleaned up from the removal of the refrigerator that was leaking fluids out.
Okay. So you put it basically in her living room.
Yes.
And was I with you when you did that?
Yes.
In here, let me see. So under the HUD provisions, have there been notices, the referred to 14 30-day notices that were sent to her?
Yes.
Can you tell the court a little bit about that notice, what it involves?
Well, which notice do you want?
Well, just tell her first in general why you send that notice.
Well, they got 14 days to correct. If it's not corrected, they're to be evicted in 30 days.
Okay. And do you know how many notices have been given to her?
It's over 5.
Okay. And has she always corrected everything?
Yeah, to a point. I mean, usually they time out because they're only good for 6 months.
Okay.
Just like the electricity's been happened twice. So, I mean, it's yearly. It's a yearly deal. So it times out after 6 months. So we have to give her another one.
So most recently, she was giving a notice in August, though, right after her refrigerator, during the same period when her electricity had been turned off, correct?
Yes.
And that notice told her she not only had to get the electricity, but clean up, correct?
Yes.
And
Yes.
did she clean up?
No.
Okay. Do you have any other incidents you'd like the court to be aware of?
I tried to help Pat with her electricity deal. And what I did is I went and got her a LEAP application from Emporia on March 3rd this year. And the LEAP application is due on March 31st. So that gave her plenty of time to get it filled out so that I could take it back up there, because I knew she's on a limited income, that she has a little bit of trouble monthly getting by. So, and then after I gave her the application, I gave her about a week and I asked her, I said, you got that application filled out? She says, no, I'm so busy, all the phone calls at night and trying to get information on Jack and everything. I said, well, Pat, you need to get that filled out so we can help you with your electricity. So that's less something that you have to not worry about as much, that it'll help your bill. Because most of the people up there get LEAP, they get $800 to $900 a year for LEAP, and that almost covers a full year of electricity. And after about 3 weeks of just asking her, you got that so I can take it, I take it. I get a call on March 29th, the Saturday at 3:30, that she's got the application filled out and need it taken back, but the application's due on the 31st, that Monday. So I told her I would not be able to run that application till Monday, and I'm hopefully get it there before 5. So then I called DCF that takes the LEAP application, and they said, long as it's in the box by the 31st, that it should be all right. So I dropped it in the night box on the 31st after I got off work.
And do you know if she was given LEAP or not?
Not that I know of, that she did not get LEAP because she didn't follow up with them, or something happened with that, because I asked her and she said they denied it or something, but I don't know what exactly happened with that.
Okay. Have you also referred her to what's referred to as RCIL?
Yes, her neighbor Sandy gets RCIL, and it's a resource for independent living, and they help with cleaning and any resources that she would need, but she refuses any help or any resources because she says she don't want those people in their houses, and that they're crooks and they're scammers and everything else. And I've worked with Kelly Jones from RCIL. She's moved like 3 people up to Pleasant View and worked with getting them in and out. And she's very pleasant to work with, very easy to work with. And she would help Pat if Pat would ask for help, would them help her, but Pat refuses to let anybody help her.
Okay. And are you in a position as kind of the person that's up there for the management to try to fill all of Pat's needs over and above what her lease requires?
Yes, she's always calling for me to take out her trash or do this maintenance request, a minimal request, and I told her, I said, I can't run up here for every maintenance request. I said, I'll get them as need basis, if something goes like she wanted me to change out all her electrical outlets because she couldn't plug in stuff to them, and when I went there to test to see what's going on, they plugged in fine. I changed a couple in the bedroom just so she could to appease her to where she could maybe a little bit easier. It seemed to help a little bit, but it's one of those things where she's getting to a point where it's hard for her to do daily tasks.
Okay. From your working with her, is your opinion that it may not be safe for her to be in that apartment by herself?
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm more worried about the safety of other residents because of her more aggressiveness towards people when they question her and not give her what she wants. She's also been kicked off the senior bus rides because her aggression towards him from the senior center, the driver. So the driver, basically what he told me, Dan said that he told them it's either her or me, because she's been kicked off twice of the senior center bus rides because he would not do what she asked, and she got aggressive and mean with him.
Okay. And have you had a chance to read the 30-day notice to vacate that was prepared and served on her?
Yes.
And do you believe that that's all accurate and true based upon the information that you have?
Yes.
Ms. McIntyre, that's what you filed as Exhibit A1.
Yeah, so A1 and 2 was the notice that we actually served on her. And I actually went up to serve that, and although she was home, she didn't come to the door, so I posted it on the door, and that's what Exhibit B is, showing that it was posted. And I did that on August 7th. So she had plenty of time to address that situation. And Your Honor, I don't know if you want to put me under oath, because I have some information that I'd like to provide testimony about, or else if that's not necessary, I have no desire how you want to go with that.
Well, I don't think I've ever had a situation where the attorney was the witness, so I'm not sure how to proceed with that. I guess we better safe than sorry. I know as an officer of the court, I trust you're going to be truthful, but let's, just to be safe, we'll go ahead and.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, please proceed.
Okay, Your Honor, I'd first like to state that I heard Eric's testimony, and from my knowledge of the situation, Eric has the direct contact with me when something comes up. His first person he usually goes to is me, just because I'm more available, and I've been on the board one of the longest period of time. So he comes to me and tells me the situation, and based upon the information in his testimony today, everything that he's told the court is true. I also we work with a management company that is familiar with HUD obligations, and so they actually prepared the initial notice to vacate to make sure that we were in compliance. And what we did is just added additional problems that had come up where they weren't maybe being as specific, but we used this management company, which is Wainwright Management, and they help process all the HUD applications. And so we feel that their notice complies with HUD. Also, I attached as exhibit, I sent to the court as Exhibit C, a copy of her lease, and Pat would already have that copy, but in reading through that lease, there are several requirements where she's clearly has not followed the requirements of the lease, which also provide a basis for terminating her lease. And I can go through those, but what Eric has addressed is all covered in the situation. Basically, if she puts other residents at risk, or if they can't live a safe and have a safe and enjoyment atmosphere up there, that's a basis. If she doesn't keep the utilities on, that's a basis. If she causes damage to the facility or our property, that's a basis that's in violation of the lease. If she's harassing management or goes around management in trying to contact maintenance issues, that's in violation of the lease. All the issues that we've listed in the 30-day notice are actually in violation of the lease, or put other residents at risk. We have 16, it's a small facility. We have 16 apartments up there, and there's not that many residents. I mean, it's not 16 residents aren't a lot, and it's not all full right now, but basically these are elderly or disabled people that just want to have an enjoyable life and do not want to have to worry about what their other tenants or neighbors are doing. The other thing I'd like to I would like to find out from the defendant her well, I'd like to question the defendant unless you'd like to have her have a response first, and then I could follow up after she's told us what her position is.
All right, well, let me just ask you,
Yeah, let's hear
Ms.
from her.
Vojkovic, you've heard the testimony so far,
Bring on the
and
crazy.
you have the right to present any testimony or evidence of your own to counter that if you want. Do you feel like that is something you want to do? Do you still contest the allegations that they're making today?
Yes, I want to do that, and I'm still contesting. There was a lot of lies and exaggerations.
All right, so you want to testify on your own behalf today?
Yes.
Okay, so does that help with how you want to proceed, Ms. McElroy?
Yes, I'll let her testify, and then I could just follow up with cross-examination.
All right, so does that, with the admission of those documents to which you've marked as exhibits, is there any further evidence you want to present?
Well, there would be also Exhibit D, which I had presented, which is just basically an annual document that she completes based upon her income, and that just basically changes her rent. And that last one was done in, I believe, May, and I've attached that as Exhibit D. Yeah, it was done in May and it shows her current rent at 205. Oh, Judge, I would also note that she made an automatic deposit to our bank account of $205 after she received this notice. So she paid that at the beginning of September. Also, she has a deposit of $265. And as I pled in the petition, we're asking that amount be set off to help against the cost of the refrigerator that is having to be replaced in that unit. She was given a used refrigerator at this point, just given her history. We didn't want to go through another situation where if her utilities were off, that we'd damage a new unit. So we gave her a used unit to put in there, but would be certainly adequate. And we haven't had any complaints from her that it's not working. But we'd ask that the deposit be applied towards that refrigerator. And other than that, I'd like the opportunity to follow up and also to cross-examine her. Thank you.
Okay.
If you didn't know,
She went and made
y'all
that
sneak.
deposit.
Okay,
Is that
that's
auto deposit how she makes her rent payments?
Yeah, well, it isn't an auto deposit. She actually deposits it directly to the bank, and people can either put it in a box that's up at the facility if they want Eric to go down and make the deposit, or they can deposit it at the bank themselves. And the bank puts it in the account. A lot of people, because of their elderly disabled, we try to make it as easy as possible for them. So I have set that $205 aside, and so it hasn't actually been applied to anything at this point.
Okay, so you gave her the 30-day notice, or Mr. Holmes did, and her response to that was to pay more money into her account?
Yeah.
Rent?
Yes, I actually served the notice but she went ahead and paid rent anyway.
Okay, but as I have understood, rent payments are not the issue.
They're not now. We actually had her on it. She got behind on her rent and we gave her the opportunity to catch up, which she did.
Okay, so that was an issue at one point. All right. Okay, well, if you have nothing further, if the plaintiff rests, I'll turn to the defendant. Ms. Vojkovic, you said you had some things you wanted to say, so I'll need to have you raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're going to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay, you can lower your hand. I read your lips, I do, but I didn't hear you. We may need to get someone there from security to help you work that machine. Do you have any trouble using the computer there?
There is a little button here with the red thing on it. Is that something I'm supposed to push?
Apparently, because now I can hear you playing. So if you want to start out by saying your name for the record, please tell me your name. Okay, but Missy, that's not going to work. Can you get security to come in there and help her with that a little bit, maybe?
She just needs to sit in front of the computer and get closer to it.
And don't be moving around even the slightest. Okay. All right, who is that with her? Who is that
This is
with you,
Kyle-
ma'am?
Kyle Engel.
Well, that's Kyle Engel that I've heard about. Well, okay. All right. So could you please, I know we've identified who you are, but in your own words, if you'd say your name for the record, please.
Yes,
Getting close enough to the microphone.
Patricia Wojciechowicz.
Say that again, please.
Patricia Wojciechowicz.
Okay. Wojciechowicz. Okay. All right. And you are the person that is living in this apartment that we're talking about. Is that right?
Yeah.
Where do you live? What's the name of your apartment complex?
It's on Pleasant View Village, but it is a really beautiful view. They could have called it a beautiful view if they wanted to. And I'm number 103, apartment
All
3.
right. I don't want to put anything more identifying on here than that. I think we've established what we're talking about here. And you've heard all the testimony so far from Eric Holmes and Karen McElvain, is that right?
Right.
Okay, now you can respond to that in your own words and you can add anything else you want at this time.
All right. I have a lot to say. First of all, I'm going to respond to the last statement.
Okay.
I paid it for the entire month because I didn't know what day I would be leaving and I didn't want to be accused of not paying. So that's why I had the check deposited. So the roots of this are terrorism, corruption, and conspiracy, which is a tremendously long story. So I'm not going to talk about that. But regarding number 5 on page 4 of the summary, which Attorney McElvain did mention, there was a statement that I did not answer the door. I did not hear a knock and was surprised that the notice was on the door. Number 6 on page 4 are very general accusations with no details. Some of those are mentioned in other pages. I did take out the trash or found someone else to do that and offered to pay them. The only thing that wasn't done was finishing the fridge and the freezer. The fridge, including the freezer, was partially emptied. There was a 14-day notice about the scent, which was exaggerated. The management did not honor their 14-day notice. 7 days after I got the 14-day notice, Eric arrived and moved the refrigerator outside. I had been told by another person that it would be moved to the patio to clean it, so I thought I had more time. Eric was in some ways very good. He did some things that maybe were not in his job description. Whatever he did fix was very well fixed most of the time. But he was so hostile when he taped the refrigerator as if he was ready to smash it. And that made me afraid of him, even though my friend was there with me. Before the 7 days, after the electric was connected,
Does
a
anybody
friend
blame
of a
him?
friend who does cleaning thought that if the fridge and freezer was cleaned, it would work. It went on sometimes after the electric was reconnected. Eric likes to exaggerate, and there were some misstatements that were not true about what he said. He did not even open the fridge. Freezer.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Are you reading something that you prepared? Is that what you're doing? Or are
Yes,
you?
I am.
Okay.
Some of
I
this
think-
is prepared. Yeah, some of this is prepared, and some of it will not be prepared.
Okay. And did you
Is that all
prepare
right?
it? Did you prepare it with help, or did someone else do it for you?
I
I
can't
did
wait
this
for the
myself.
freestyle portion.
I
You
did this
did?
myself.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry I had to interrupt. I just wasn't sure what you were reading and if you were telling me contemporaneously, but go ahead, please.
All right, thank you. So, like I started saying about he didn't open the fridge or the freezer door, I asked my next door neighbor if there were any bugs in her apartment after the doors were open. She said no. So, that's part of this. A significant issue is that there was, it's related in some ways. It's not about the refrigerator, but there was a terrible smell in the laundry room recently. I put a note in the manager's, Eric's, black box on a Sunday. On Wednesday, the scent was still in the laundry room. My friend, and now getting back to the refrigerator, my friend and her friend sprayed the inside of the fridge and freezer. There were some bugs that flew out. Many were not alive because they were sprayed before the time that I'm just telling you that they sprayed. So they weren't alive when she came the second time or the third time. There were a few that, well, they were like almost deceased, but they were just still barely alive. I asked if they were going to fix the fridge or replace it. Eric said he didn't know. The notice states that they're charging me $5.99 for a different fridge, $100 to haul the other fridge away, and $100 to move one from another apartment. I didn't have a fridge from Monday till Wednesday. after we took that one away. The removed fridge was clunking off and on since early this year. Am I talking too fast if anybody is recording anything like a court reporter? Am I going too fast?
No, I think you're doing fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Unless
So,
anyone else is having a problem. I hear no objections to it, so please proceed.
All right. So the removed fridge was clunking off and on since early this year. I did not tell Eric because when the heater AC was making a racket, he said they wouldn't do anything about it as long as it worked. And when they clunk, I've been told that means they won't last long. The floor under the fridge looked as if it had not been cleaned for many years. And any other drips on the floor were cleaned before he moved the fridge out to the outdoors. It was just underneath the fridge that wasn't cleaned. And the one that he brought later, days later, it had brown stuff around the motor or the compressor, whatever that was in the back of the refrigerator. And it's that brown stuff that was on the floor plus some other dirt. After Attorney McIlvaine told me that when I get the floor cleaned, I should wipe out the replacement fridge, I felt that was violating my personal boundaries. I was planning to do that anyway. It needs deep cleaning though. It looks as if it was not cleaned for many years. It does work all right though. But I didn't use it for many days because it just looks so dirty. And then regarding the rent. So when I got behind, after I got behind on the rent, I got a text message on a calendar app that I created to be anonymous texts. And it was that someone had paid some of my rent. And I tried to find out how much, etc. And I didn't get an answer. I called Attorney McIlvaine a bunch of times, and I had heard that she had retired. I read in the newspaper that she retired. There was a good article about her retiring. And I didn't get an answer from her, except I got a letter stating what I had paid. Well, I knew that. And she said in the letter too, I should know what I paid. Well, I know what I paid. I was asking specifically in the voicemail what anyone else had paid. And I even called her alternative number that was on her recording, and they never called me back. And I called the person who was the accountant at that time, who is now deceased. And he didn't let me know anything because he didn't have a voicemail and he wasn't answering his phone the days and the hours he's supposed to be there. So it was impossible to find out. I contacted Marcy. I got a letter from Marcy saying she is the next level of HUD management above the local level. And the letter said, if I moved, I would owe nothing. If I came back, I would owe. Well, it really didn't tell me a specific amount. So I just continued to pay the rent, which was $197 before, then it was reduced to $205. And there were some injuries which I didn't do anything about because I realized that in Madison, there is a revenge culture. First of all, shortly after Eric started, which was about 2 years ago, I was walking under some trees and a branch fell on me. And he had been cutting branches some days before that. So apparently this branch was laying on top of the other branches and maybe wasn't noticeable because there was still leaves on the tree. And I didn't say anything about it. And I was in pain for months off and on, but I didn't want to start with the chiropractor. Sometimes injuries sort of heal themselves. And then another time, there was a slanty sidewalk going from the apartment where I've been renting to the edge of the property. And I walk on that sidewalk sometimes, and there was some water on the sidewalk, and I walked where there wasn't any water, but somehow because the cement was damp, one of my feet slid into the puddle, and then the neck injury started again with pain. But again, I thought, well, maybe this will get better, and it gradually got better, and sometimes it's worse. If I walked a lot or carried a lot, it would get worse. But I didn't want to start with the chiropractors. We have a very good one in Madison, but she relocated and is only in Madison once in a while. She doesn't accept insurance. It's $100, and I just didn't want an extra expense. I preferred to tolerate the pain, hoping that it would cure itself. Then a third thing happened. I was walking to Joyce's apartment because she's a friend, and there's a metal plate apparently covering a pipe that was somebody put there for some reason, probably for drainage. And that metal plate had grit on it because some of the other metal plates have some grit. Well, the grit is totally off that metal plate going to her apartment door. And I slid on that, and then my neck injury got worse again. Then the fourth thing that happened was when Eric moved the refrigerator, he was just really mad. Like, I have never seen him that mad before. But anyway, I had a china cabinet that was near the path where he was going, but it was just too much into the path, like maybe a few inches. So he moved the china cabinet at an angle, but I couldn't get at the AC then. And before he left, I didn't think of asking him, can you move it someplace else? And so I tried to budget, and then that made my neck worse again. And since then, he did stop, and I asked him to move it to a different spot. He did move it to a different spot. So it's out of the way of the AC now. I did comply with their notices. Eric did not get a call from Kyle. He called her. The flies were only in the fridge and the freezer. There were a few that flew out, but they were like almost deceased because they were just flying really slow. There was no trash in the refrigerator part. He said there was trash in the refrigerator. It was in the freezer. And I did that because it was food wrappings, like the trays from Meals on Wheels. I rinse them out, but still, to prevent bugs, it's better to either take the trash out every day or otherwise put it in the refrigerator or the freezer so that I don't have any bugs. And I didn't have any bugs until this happened with the refrigerator. What else can I say? There's more for me to say. I did take the trash out, except sometimes I ask someone else to take it out. Oh, I know what I wanted to tell you. When they originally designed the floor plans, the buildings where they would go, where the dumpster would go, those designers were probably not senior citizens because there's 3 ways to get to the dumpster. One is walking over gravel, the other one is walking on lumpy grass with tree roots, and the other one is walking on slopey cement, and that is difficult for a senior citizen. There's many there who walk with the walker, and sometimes I walk with the walker, but I try not to. And so it's difficult for senior citizens to even get to the dumpster. Other people have told me the same thing. And then there's a problem with the sidewalks, is this slanty one, and also there's a big hole between the seams of the sidewalk in front of the fence where I'm living. And somebody from HUD was there when they had their last meeting about some people from HUD inspecting the apartments. And she told me that the HUD inspector said there's nothing wrong with the sidewalks, but some are uneven. They did patch some over the years. And then there's that big hole in front of the fence where I'm living. And well, I'm hoping before I move that they get these fixed because I don't want my movers to trip, and I don't want to trip. And there's also, now this I never mentioned to Eric, I just didn't think they'd do anything about it. But on the doorway going to the outdoors, between the outdoors and the door sill, there's about a ½ an inch drop off. And indoors, there's about 1 inch from the door sill parts to the living room floor. And I have to always make sure I walk over that. Well, somebody else, if they're busy moving, they might not think of that. It's a hazard for other people. It's a hazard for me. I tripped on it twice this month. And then, so that's the part about the sidewalks. I'm asking for this eviction to be canceled. I've been told that I will not be able to rent another HUD apartment for 3 to 5 years if I'm evicted. And also there was sex harassment apparently. Eric was itching himself many times when he was around me. And I didn't say anything about it because of the revenge culture in Madison. But Eric was a lot of lies and exaggerations. He's got a full-time job, and then he's got all this with these apartments, and it's kind of maybe overwhelming according to what he told me originally. I don't know if it still is. And then regarding calling him late at night about the snake, I called him during the day about the snake. But at night, I did call him because there had been a flood from another apartment, and the toilet before that flood was making funny noises. And so when it started making those noises again, or I should say strange noises, not funny. And so when it was making those noises again, it was 10:30 at night. I did call him and tell him, and he said, well, I'm not going
Funny
there
like
this
a
time of
clown?
night, and it was hostile. But he did show up 15 minutes later, and then He stayed a few minutes. He looked at it. He said, well, there's really nothing he can do. And then later he told me that I called him after 11 o'clock. Well, by the time he got home, it might have been 11. Jack is not my husband. He has not passed away. His voice was on my phone. I've talked to him in person, but he was a passenger. I think that was my sister driving, and she drove away. He wouldn't answer the questions. They have him intimidated about contacting me. But he is alive, and he's not my husband. We were engaged the last time I talked to him when he was in a hospital. And he's not passed away. This group that's been harassing me for probably, I think 24 years, somebody told me 25 years, they did something similar with my dad. We got a letter, my mother and I got a letter saying that my dad had died, and it was on official government looking stationery. And I called Social Security, and they said, we can't tell you where he is, but he is alive. And then we got a bill about wound care, and I thought, well, maybe he's in a nursing home. So I called the nursing home where I thought he would be, and he was there, and we visited him a bunch of times before he did die. So because they had done this with my dad, I thought maybe they did this with Jack, and I'd gotten many messages months after I got the death certificate that Jack was alive. And now I've gotten a text a few months ago that doctor died. Well, I don't know what kind of doctor. I thought, what kind of doctor could this be? Maybe it's the doctor on the death certificate, that it was signed after he was deceased, and I have to call about that and find out when did that doctor die and is he still alive. But anyway, his ex-wife worked in a nursing home, so she had access to all those kinds of papers. Also, what Eric said, I kind of got off and attached.
Excuse me, I want to make sure I'm not confused here. Are you talking about this Jack or your father right now?
Oh, I'm talking about Jack is not my husband. And
Okay,
that I had gotten that
he had
phony
been your
death.
fiance. Jack had been your fiance.
Right.
He is not dead, but you said something about a death certificate. Could you clarify?
Yes, his ex-wife sent me a death certificate, and I have it with me as far as I know. And there's a doctor's name on it. And then I got a text a few months ago, doctor died. And I thought, what kind of doctor could this be about? It must be about the death certificate. And I've got to call and find out if that doctor was alive, or did they sign his name after he was deceased. But I'm sure that was Jack. That day I got a hint, that he's going to be driving around, he's going to be a passenger, whatever, just that he was going to be on a certain road, not the details. And so I waved my arms and they stopped, and I tried to talk to him. He wouldn't say anything. Well, my sister, I think it was my sister, was answering for him, and she drove away. So, but I'm sure that was him. And I do not have a cat. I don't know where Eric got that from. I never looked for a cat. Never. We have 11 neighborhood cats that roam around different times of the day and night, but I do not have a cat. I had a cat years ago before I moved to Kansas. And regarding the school, I went there to ask about their plant sale and about buying eggs. And that was my reason for going there. And regarding the flashlight, I didn't shine it in anybody's apartment. I was shining it on the sidewalk when I was walking at night. And regarding getting into apartments, there were some people who invited me into their apartments when they were there. Some I helped, some they just wanted to tell me their problems, whatever. And one time I was knocking on number 2 because I kept on getting these messages, like something about Jack and number 2, and we do have a number 2. And like Eric said, he was right about that. It's empty. I've never seen anybody go in and out of there until recently, except him. And so from a distance, a certain tenant, and I don't know, are you a lawyer? Because I'm only supposed to tell names to lawyers. That's what a lawyer told me. Anyway, you are a lawyer. All right.
I'm
So
a lawyer, but I'm serving as a judge at this time.
yeah, so I can tell you because you're a lawyer, but maybe also because you're a judge. So the certain tenant, Sandy, was way at the other end of the property, like about 1, 2, 4 apartments away from me. But she was next to another building. And I was knocking on number 2, and she yelled at me, "You're trying to get into number 2." And I said, "No, I'm not. I'm knocking on the door." And she kept yelling it. And then another time when I was outside, Eric was about in the same area, about where Sandy was standing. And I was knocking on number 2, and he said, you're getting into number 2. And I said, "No, I'm knocking on the door." And we went back and forth on that. Anyway, So that's that part. Then he said that I put notes on the doors of the new tenants. No, it's not every new tenant, but there was a new tenant some months ago, when it was cold yet in the spring. I noticed that she had a teenager visiting her. I thought maybe that's her grandson, and she's not outside very much. So I put a note on her door saying, I'm looking for somebody to hire to throw out my trash. And I wondered if the boy who visits her might be interested. And it's not all the new people that I put a note on their doors. It's just that I did that for her because she had the visitor who looked to be the age of a student who would like maybe a small job. So that's that part. And I did ask one tenant for a ride, but I had listened to him talk lots of times. And he did, when the transportation program was shut down because they couldn't they had troubles with their van and they couldn't get another one. They could get one once in a while, like a few times a month or once a week, and it was only certain hours. And so I needed a ride. So I did ask one tenant for a ride. And I did give him things, but anyway, I asked him if I said I could pay him. He said no. And I've never gotten aggressive with any of these people. With Eric, though, he harassed me so many times, and there were threats, which makes it domestic terrorism. But I just let it go. And he was aggressive to me. He had a hostile voice sometimes, but I was not aggressive to him. But I did talk back to him the last couple times. Like, for example, I asked him to fix the blinds
Yeah,
because
Eric looks like a
the
domestic
blinds in the living
terrorist.
room, they broke at the top, the piece that goes across the top. And what he did was he fixed it sort of temporarily. He was looking for his electric drill and he couldn't find it. So he used one of those cable ties, tying it to some other part of the blind. But then I could only raise it about 3 or 4 inches. And then I went outside because he was still around and I said, could you do something with the blind so I can raise it more? And he said, well, we'll see. He was talking to somebody else as if, I was just a tree or something. And generally, sometimes his attitude is very good. Whatever he does get done, he does a good job, but not with the blinds. And then the other blind, they're probably very old. They look very old. And they don't last forever. In the bedroom, there's some pieces missing. And I asked him if he could maybe switch it with one from another apartment. And he said, well, they're all smoky. But when they ran their ad, they put smoke free in the ad. And then he said, well, if you can find the pieces, that time it was only one piece, then he said, I can fix it. Well, I found that piece because I had saved it. And then in the meantime, it broke in 2 other places. So I said, well, I have all the pieces. Can you fix it now? He said, no, fix it yourself. And then when I was talking to him about the living room blinds, he said, I broke it. I said, no, I didn't break it. And he just kept on. He said it 3 or 4 times. I think 3 times, you broke it, you broke it. I said, no, I didn't break it. It broke itself when I was trying to raise it. And I mentioned about the trash that, why I put the wrappings in the freezer. And then there's some other parts. So regarding, there's some other parts that I wanted to address. This part says harassment of board members. I did not harass any board members. That is a misstatement. A board member helped me to move there because I had called his church. And he did it with a good attitude. He found 2 helpers. And so somebody gave me a sofa, but it was very scented. And I knew I couldn't tolerate it. So I called him and I said, I have a sofa I want to donate. Could I donate it to your church? Because he had said to me, they have a building where they store furniture to give away. And he said, well, right now we don't have space and I don't have anybody to move it. So I called him back about twice a month, or I voicemailed him. I did this for maybe 2 months. And finally he did show up and they did take the sofa and he had somebody to give it to. So that wasn't really harassment. But then because I knew him and I didn't know who else was on the board, when this rent issue happened, where I was told that someone had paid part of the rent, and then this was on my anonymous text board that I created that I mentioned. And then I said, well, I haven't been able to find out how much was paid. He said, I got the answer back, plenty was paid. So then when I couldn't find out from, he's threatened that if he does anything for me, something will happen to him. And I asked different times, well, what are the threats? And he wouldn't tell me. Then his icon showed on my text, part of my calendar, and it looked to be a gun. And then some days after that, the word shooting was in a text. So he's been very threatened about this. This, I think, is Jack. And he's been very threatened that if he re-meets me, I think he knows where I am, but I know sort of where he is, but they keep moving him around. He's a slave. And so I couldn't find out from him. I couldn't find out from the person who helped me move. So then when we had this flood because of another apartment, I called that person and told him about the rent situation. And well, he said he would try to find out. Well, then he called somebody else. And then I got a letter from Attorney McIlvain, and then I also got a letter from Marcy, but it just said what I said, that if I leave, I won't owe anything. If I come back, I will. So that was the situation with the rent. And I don't know if they call this harassment. I was just trying to find out information. Then this part about other tenants. Sandy smokes, and I mentioned to her that her smoke was getting in my apartment. And then somebody told me, oh, she doesn't smoke anymore. Well, I smelled the smoke even after that. And I asked her, could she open her windows? And she said, well, I can't tolerate the wind. She does open her screen door sometimes, like maybe 4 inches, and then she lets her indoor
What is wrong with you,
door
Judy?
open at the same time.
Thank you.
It's happened a bunch of times. Sometimes it's many times a month, sometimes it's once a month, some months not at all, so it's random. And so when I didn't get any results talking to her, I thought, she's smart, and I'm going to write her a note. So I wrote a note about the same thing. And maybe they call that, I got a notice that I was trying to enforce the rules. Well, if they don't enforce the rules, I guess I don't have any right to enforce them either. And I didn't ever harass Eric. When he would harass me, I would just say nothing, or I would be polite. And except the last couple times I did talk back to him. And the contract assistance, that would have been about the spraying, I think. I did call and I told them I'm very allergic. Could they not spray? Because I got a notice that all were going to be sprayed. And they didn't tell me anything else. They just said, we will not spray your apartment. And so, this harassment it's a misnomer. It shouldn't have been called harassment. It could have just been contacting or something like that. But I didn't feel I had any other alternative. And then another thing was when I filled out the papers to renew my lease, the first time, the first time, that was one time. Then I renewed it, and then I had to renew it again. And the second and the third time, there was a page saying, did I receive these different pieces of information? And some of it was the numbers that were on the pages of the lease agreement. And those I checked because, they just gave them to me. And yes, I did read them. I read all that fine print. And but then there were some others that were not part of the lease agreement. And those I did not get. When Eric gave me the copies back, there's a big red check in front of those that I did not check. Like they want me to believe that I got what I did not get, but it was all about tenants' rights. So they want me to believe that I have no rights. And then calling companies requesting work orders, that would have been about the spraying. And companies is a plural here. It was only that bug spraying company. And then trying to get into other units, I mentioned that. Now getting to this page starts at the top, bothering other tenants. I didn't bother them. I nicely asked if they could plug in my phone when I didn't have electricity so I could call about electric assistance, etc., and that I could pay them to do that. And they said, yes, we'll do that. A few did say, no one said no, but they did that. But then they didn't want me to pay them. And I didn't use a flashlight to look into other apartments. Like I said, I was just walking on the sidewalk. Some of these notices I get are that if I look outside at night, Jack is going to be there, but he isn't. And then this part about at least 4 times I needed to have her door unlocked. There were 4 times. He was accurate about that. But some of them I didn't even tell him about. So the first time was when Zach was the maintenance man, but we were, well, how can I say this? I called Donna because she's in the senior projects office, and I figured she probably knows somebody who could unlock my door, remove a screen, whatever. And she recommended her grandson, Zach. Well, I didn't know that he was working for the project at the time, the HUD housing project. And so he took the screen off, and I said, I can pay you. He said, no, you don't have to pay me. I said, I'm paying you. I gave him $10. And he was really good about getting there quickly. He got it done quickly. You know, he did it with a good attitude. All those things are important. And then the second time when I got locked out, I called Eric. By then he was working there as the manager. And he said, well, I'm out of town. I can't do anything about it. And so I went to a church, and church had not started yet. And I asked a person there, could he remove the screen, and then I would pay him. He removed it, I got in, but he didn't want me to pay him. Then the third time, Eric did take the screen off, and he said to me in a really hostile voice, it was a threat, it was domestic terrorism. If you lock yourself out again, I'm going to charge you $25 to take this screen off and put it back on. And so he took it off, but then, you know, he threatened me at the same time. And the fourth time, and this is, I've been there 27 months. I'm just thinking, May, June, July, August, September, almost 28 months. And the last time, he happened to be working in an apartment 2 apartments away. So I just went and asked him if he could unlock the door. He had his keys with him. He unlocked the door. So it's like he's making this into a big deal. Other people lock themselves out too. He wanted me to put a key on the patio. Well, a lot of people probably do this. I've heard other people tell me they did this. I don't think it's really safe to put a key on the patio. I've had so much disappear. I'm going to talk about that next. Well, first I want to mention Eric is good in a lot of ways. If I was evaluating him, half the time I'd give him an A+, and the other times I'd give him an F-. So whatever he got done was done very well, except for the blinds. And so there was something else I was going to say about Eric. Let me just think a minute. I told you about the doors being unlocked. I told you about the injuries. Well, if I think of it yet, I will say it. But there was one more thing I wanted to say. It was something about Eric. Yeah, there's times when he has threatened me. Like he said, if I don't get RCIL to help me with the LEAP application, he was going to get me evicted. I would get evicted. Well, there's reasons I don't want to work with RCIL. I've heard about their employees. They're not always good. And also I called RCL though, because of his threat, and found out that a person has to be on Medicaid in order to be eligible for their program. And that takes time to process. And the last few weeks, it takes a few weeks just to process it. Then it would take them time to find somebody, because when a former tenant was looking for someone, it took them months, because Madison's a small town, people didn't have transportation, they're very fussy about who they hire. So I just didn't think there was time to do RCIL, and I didn't really want to do RCIL. The other thing they told me is they require not just a small project like clean the floor and clean the refrigerator and take out the trash once a week. And the trash would be a weekly thing. The other things are one-time things. They want somebody who can work a bunch of hours every week, and I don't have anything else that I would want help with. It was just those 3 things. And I'm still in the process of looking for somebody about the trash. But I did take it out most of the time myself, or I found somebody to do that. You know, he is making it sound like I never took it out. It gets to be 1 or 2 bags, and then I either would take it out myself or I'd find somebody to take it out. And then there's this issue about things
Oh
missing.
my God.
A short time after I moved there, like a few days, I noticed that there were footprints on the floor. They were not there when I moved in. They were muddy looking, and they were pointed toes like cowboy boots. And I didn't say anything to anybody because I know Madison and Kansas has a revenge culture. And then I started missing things. I am missing probably equal to 4 months rent in 28 months. I mean, as far as replacing things go. And I didn't report it because of the revenge issue. But another tenant is missing things also. And I asked her, well, what's the value of what you're missing? She really didn't know, but from what she told me, I would say between 100 and 200. Another tenant who moved had her apartment broken into, and they cut the screen, whoever it was, and they got into her apartment through the inside door then. And she got a device that would make a noise if anybody tried to get in. And she was just so tired from having a new baby that she didn't set the alarm one time. Another time it went off, and when she got to the door, they were gone. They apparently got scared by the alarm. But she was missing. Now, this person she said was her dad. I talked to him and I said, well, how much is she missing? What's the dollar value? He said $3,000 because she had 7 orders that were supposed to be delivered and she never got them, and the company would not reimburse her. So anyway, it's not just me that's missing things, it's these other people too. And it's things that, like, I had multiples of, like my food or my plastics or my paper products and some other things. And then I got text telling me that there had been tampering done. And I know that that could be possible because it was done other places. And based on how I felt, yes, I think that did happen. Probably the same time things disappeared. Like I had, my guess is about 10 cans of pumpkin. All of a sudden I have only 1 and I didn't make any of them. That's just one example. But, adding everything up together, I'd say it's equal to 4 months rent, including the suitcases that are missing. I had 23, plus I got some extra ones. I'd say half are missing, like 10 or more. And it's what the value of replacing the suitcases, but what's more valuable is the papers in them, because this domestic terrorism case is, it's federal, and I needed the papers from all my suitcases in order to prove all that's happened. And so how do you put a value on papers that a person needs for a federal case? So I didn't even include that. I just included what it would cost to replace things. And I was replacing things often. And the more I complained about it to the bugging system and on my calendar app, the less it happened. That's my situation with things disappearing. And I think that's probably a summary of, I'm asking that the eviction be dismissed, or that I get more time to move. I have lists of about 70 offices. Some have been contacted that would help with this in one way or another, either with finding a place. I would have to move where they can't find me, because if they find me, this group, they just create problems wherever I live. And so there's lots of different pieces to this. And also, I don't want assisted living. I don't want an organization or agency running my life. There's sleep starvation. I'm woke up so many times during the night. I get an average of about 5 hours of sleep. I'm surprised I can even tell you all this. And sometimes it's only 3 or nothing. Sometimes, a few times since I've been there, it's been 8 or more. But I'd say the average is about 5, so it's really not enough REM sleep, which you probably realize being an educated person, and even people who didn't go beyond high school probably have heard or read that sleep is really important. So yeah, sometimes everything I told you I think is relevant in some way to this entire situation. So I think I've covered all the bases.
All right, you said that you did not want the eviction, but in the alternative, you would want time to move. What kind of time were you talking about?
I wish I was a fortune teller. A month would be good if possible.
All right, and this group you keep talking about that you're concerned about them, with their effect on you. Who is this group of people?
At the root of it is priest abuse. A group of priests in Wisconsin wanted me to get involved with them, and I didn't want to, and so I thought it would fizzle out, and I tried to solve it. But in the beginning, attorneys told me it's not terrible enough. Later, they told me it's too terrible. They've done everything they can from A to Z to deplete me in every way they can. A lot of it was moving around, and also trying to split Jack and I as many times as they could.
You
and
want
now with all the
just
threats
the right
to
amount
him
of
and
terrible.
the fact that he is a slave now, or he was very recently, I believe they're at the root of it, because I've been told that it's the same priest leader as what Wisconsin had. My sister's involved in it, and now here in Kansas, there's other people involved in it. So basically 2 from Wisconsin and the rest are, new people. So that's the group. They just, it's like a punishment that I don't want to be involved with them. And my concern, I don't want assisted living. I will only get help from whoever I think is not going to be bribable by them or whatever, because the threat to me near the beginning was they were going to make me look like a criminal or make me look crazy. And my only way out of an institution was going to be to join their group. And I have avoided them. I've done everything I can, but it's like too much of my life revolves around trying to go around the problems they try to cause or solving the problems they try to cause. It's difficult to make any headway that way. So I have to get at the roots of this too, which off and on I tried, but I didn't get results. But now I have these almost 70 offices, and I'm hoping that some of them can help with some part of it. And I'm not mad at you. I may sound, like I'm mad at you, Judge, Your Honor, but I'm not mad at you. You're trying to get justice. It's all these things that have happened, and I'm not being aggressive. I don't think I'm being hostile. But I'm just, telling you how it is.
Okay, I understand. Well, I have one more question, and then I'm going to let Attorney McElvain cross-examine you. If this place is as bad as you're telling me it is that you're living in, why do you want to continue to live there? Why are you fighting the eviction?
Because I don't have another place to go to yet.
Okay.
And because I realized from what I was told before by other people that if a person is evicted from a HUD apartment, they cannot rent another apartment. I heard 5 years, then I heard 3 to 5 years. Then I heard once in a while they make an exception, but I can't count on an exception, and that's really all I can afford. And oh, this is an important point. I'm glad you brought this to the attention of the court. I had 20 jobs. And I was wondering why my Social Security is so low. I'm getting the minimum amount. That's the problem. And I asked many times. I called Social Security many times, and nobody would really tell me any kind of a definite answer. And then finally, one person was honest with me, and he said, "Your employment records were mainly destroyed. My employment records were mainly destroyed." So I wonder if the group is at the root of that. The Catholic Church has a lot of connections and affiliations, and so on and so forth. Like, why were my records destroyed? I never read or heard about anybody else's records being destroyed, but they maybe don't publicize that. So that's why I'm getting only the minimum amount. So I have to address that issue also, and I can't appeal it. It's difficult. I have a list of the jobs that I had, but many of my bosses were older than me at the time. And so would they still be alive? Would they be reachable? Would the company still have the records? One company where I worked a long time, the building burnt down and probably the records with it because it was a wood building. Yeah, I was told it's very difficult to prove. At this point, I saved my check stubs, but I think my mother threw them out because I don't have them. So a person, I really, whenever I talk to somebody about this, I like to add, I hope that anybody who hears about this saves all their check stubs, because anything can happen. And that is the proof. So, and their tax returns also.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Okay, now Ms. McElvain is going to have the right to do what we call cross-examination. You probably know about cross-examination. So go ahead, Ms. McElvain. You can ask her the follow-up questions.
Yes, you had said if that you would want 30 days to move. So would you be willing to be out by October 15th?
Yes, I would.
And that means you'd be out in all your belongings.
Right, and I would have the apartment cleaned. I heard that, this was months ago, like a year ago, I think, from somebody that nobody gets their security
Okay, so we
deposit
didn't
back.
need to
But
do
then
all
I
of this.
heard that person got hers back.
Yeah. So there's a provision in your lease that talks about if your security deposit's not going to come back, that there has to be notice, and then you have an opportunity to follow that up. Are you aware of that's in your lease?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And a couple other questions. Was your electricity turned off recently for up to 28 days?
It was turned off and I would have to count the days. I thought it was 25.
Okay. And do you understand that that's a violation of your lease not to be paying your utilities?
I would have to read the lease over again.
So you don't know if it is?
Who cares? She said she'd
Not
leave.
100%. I mean, I've been told that it is, and if that's accurate information, then it is.
Okay.
It is.
And do you understand that when your rent is determined, that part of that determination is giving you an allowance to pay your utilities?
Yes, I understand that.
Okay. And when this refrigerator was removed, is it your testimony that it could have been cleaned and repaired and there was not bugs or mold in the motor?
I don't know if there was mold in the motor because it wasn't disassembled. I don't know if there was bugs in the motor, but the cleaning person who does cleaning as a job thought that if it was cleaned, it would work.
Okay, who was that cleaning person?
Her name was Connie.
Connie what?
I don't know her last name. Somebody else found her, so I don't
And
know her last name.
so, but she came and looked at the refrigerator and tried to clean it?
Well, she looked at it when she opened the door. She noticed some bugs, so then they went and got some spray and they sprayed it, and then came back some days later.
Did I understand your testimony that it was sprayed like maybe 4 times?
No, it was sprayed only once. That 4 times was about the door being locked. That I didn't take my keys with me.
Okay. So when you mentioned that this refrigerator that was hauled away, that there'd be some clunking noise, did you ever file a maintenance report about hearing clunking noise on your refrigerator?
No, I didn't.
Okay,
because
thank you. And did
when I told Eric that the heater AC was making a lot of noise, he said, well, they
yes, I
don't
heard
fix
that testimony. I was wondering if you had ever made are you aware there's a procedure? Because I think you've used it before. If you have a complaint, you can write it down and put in the black box and then it gets addressed.
right.
Okay. And with regard to this refrigerator, your testimony is that it was not ruined.
I think that it was fixable. And I also think it was ready to conk out because of the clunking noises. I mean, that it would happen really soon.
Okay. And your testimony was that you were putting garbage in the freezer.
Well, I wouldn't call it garbage. It was wrappings from food. And I did that to prevent bugs and also because of my allergies. And it wasn't a lot. There was still some frozen things that had been frozen in the freezer. And there were some things like the brown bags that the food came in or the trays that the meals arrive in that I rinse them out. And so that they're totally clean, but still they could be scented. So then I put those in the freezer
Okay.
because there was space.
So are you aware in the lease that that there's other tenants up there and they are to have a right to their quiet enjoyment and use of the property?
Yes.
And by going to these tenants and asking them to use their electricity or asking them to take your garbage out and on a consistent basis, is that allowing them an enjoyment of their property?
Well, it wasn't a consistent basis. The electricity asking them to, if they would charge my phone was only while I didn't have electricity.
So that would have
And
been so just to follow up, that would have been a 25-day period at the last time. Is that correct?
But it wasn't every day because the charge would last some days.
Okay.
And some days I didn't ask, I just did without the phone. And I needed the phone in order to call about electrical assistance. And I thought of what else I wanted to mention regarding LEAP. Eric did a really good thing by dropping off the application, but he said that I called him on a Saturday. I called
Oh, you've got to be kidding me. All right, Zach has already got. I see him in the chat. Zach already got this to me. Just a second. I will get the rest of it right now. I've got it. I've got it.
Attention, esteemed viewers. If you are hearing this message, it means that you are sadly witnessing a dark moment in the history of legal discourse. Yes, it's true. Law Talk with Mike is experiencing what we in the business call a plot hole size lull. This is, of course, due entirely to Mike's, let's say, ambitious approach to preparation. And by ambitious, I mean utterly devoid. Yes, the very fabric of our legal system, as represented by this live stream, has encountered.
And I didn't ever harass Eric. When he would harass me, I would just say nothing, or I would be polite. And except the last couple times I did talk back to him. And contract assistance, that would have been about the spraying, I think. I did call and I told them I'm very allergic. Could they not spray? Because I got a notice that all were going to be sprayed. And they didn't tell me anything else. They just said, we will not spray your apartment. And so, this harassment is it's a misnomer. It shouldn't have been called harassment. It could have just been contacting or something like that. But I didn't feel I had.
Oh, good Lord. We're back to misnomer. Am I close to where we were? I picked randomly.
Any other alternative. And then another thing was when I filled out the papers to renew my lease, the first time, the first time, that was one time. Then I renewed it, and then I had to renew it again.
Forward or
the
back?
second and the third time.
Do I need to go forward or back?
Did I receive these different pieces of information? And some of it was the numbers that were on the pages of the lease agreement. And those I checked because, plus I got some extra ones. I'd say half are missing, like 10 or more. And it's what the value of replacing the suitcases, but what's more valuable is the papers in them, because this domestic terrorism case is, it's
How's
federal.
that?
And I needed the papers from all my suitcases in order to prove all that's happened. And so how do you put a value on papers that a person needs for a federal case? So I didn't even include that. I just included what it would cost to replace things. And I was replacing things often. And the more I complained about it to the bugging system and on my calendar app, the less it happened. Definite answer. And then finally, one person was honest with me and he said, your employment records were mainly destroyed. My employment.
With regard to this refrigerator, your testimony is that it was not ruined.
I think that it was fixable, and I also think it was ready to conk out because of the clunking noises. I mean, that it would happen really soon.
Okay. And your testimony was that you were putting garbage in the freezer.
Well, I wouldn't call it garbage. It was wrappings from food. And I did that to prevent bugs and also because of my allergies. And it wasn't a lot. There was still some frozen things that had been frozen in the freezer.
I wouldn't call it garbage. Was a highlight for me.
And there were some things like the brown bags that the food came in.
There were portions I got out of my brain, but that I remember.
Or the trays that the meals arrive in, that I rinse them out, and so that they're totally clean, but still they could be scented. So then I put those in the freezer. It was due on Monday.
Let me follow up on that. Is there any requirement under our lease agreement that Eric provide you a LEAP application?
I didn't notice anything like that, but he just did this out of the goodness of his heart. But he made it sound like I called him on a Saturday, which was 2 days before it was due. I called him on Friday, and he harassed me a different time and said, oh, it's the last minute. Well, it did get done. And if I wasn't so starved for sleep because of all the noise harassment, it would have got done sooner.
Okay. Your Honor, I don't have any follow-up questions at this point, under the condition that if she agrees to be out by October 15th, then I don't think that there's a big issue for us to go back and forth about whether she should be evicted or not evicted. And I think that could save us a lot of time and maybe some embarrassment in this situation. With regard to the refrigerator, our claim regarding the refrigerator still stands. I think Eric's testimony was more than credible of the condition that it was in when it was taken out. I was there when the new refrigerator, the replacement used refrigerator was put in our apartment, and the apartment then still smelled bad, excessively bad. And at that time, it was going to be moved back in the kitchen, and she told Eric not to put it in the kitchen because it hadn't been cleaned and it was still a mess. So the Pleasant View Village is works on a very low operating budget, and we can't afford to be replacing refrigerators if our tenants have the utilities turned off for 25 days at a time, and cause a situation to arise. So if
So
she'd
did
agreed to
you-
be out October 15th, and if we could, we'd ask that you consider having us keep her deposit for the refrigerator. And that if she's not out by October 15th, that we be granted restitution to have her set out, then I don't have any other questions to ask at this time.
All right, so Miss McIlvaine, the cost to buy the new refrigerator, do I understand correctly that it was $799?
Well, it was $599. And then we pay Eric, and we pay him for the time to remove the old refrigerator and then to transport away. And then we pay him, he actually was paid to find a different refrigerator and to have it moved and ready to come in yet. And that the $100 has not been incurred yet for moving it in because we did not move in a new refrigerator given her situation.
So when I read, you're asking for a total cost of $799 to be reimbursed. That is taking into consideration the cost of the refrigerator, putting it in, taking it out, and you're asking that her $264 deposit be applied towards that $799 and other costs if necessary.
Yes.
Okay.
And then in
So-
order of restitution, that if she's not out, just to avoid us going through this on a continued basis, we'd ask that we have an order of restitution in the order.
All right, so Ms. Vojkovic, do you agree with Ms. McIlvaine that you can and will be out by October 15th?
Yes,
We don't
Your
have
Honor.
to, so we don't have to argue. And Ms. McIlvaine, as I understand it, her big fear, Ms. Vojkovic, is she doesn't want to be evicted so that it would affect her future HUD. What is your position on that concern of hers? If she agrees to be out and is out, would that be a problem for future HUD, or do you know?
Eric, I think, can comment about, he's shaking his head. I'll let him comment about that real quick.
Mr. Holmes, do you know how that would be effective?
There's no provisions in HUD about if you're evicted that you'll never receive HUD again. It's up to each place's own discrepancy. It's just like if you were going to go rent an apartment, that they'll run your background and they'll see that there's an eviction on there, and then they can make a decision. I got somebody up there that's been evicted off of HUD right now. So there's no provisions in HUD that states that they will not be able to receive HUD for 3 to 4 years. I looked it up twice since we've started this the past 28 days just to make sure, because I knew that was going to become a thing. But it's a case-to-case basis, and it's a judgment of when I meet the people, I interview them and I say, oh, this is a good candidate, blah, blah, blah. Her background comes back, well, she's got eviction. I'll go ask them about an eviction, what happened. And so then I say, no, I make a trustworthy judgment, and it's up to each place that does that. There's no, they can't, if they did that, you know how many people would be homeless, you know?
So someone may genuinely have told her that if she gets kicked out of HUD, she can't get another HUD for so many years. But that person may not have known what they were talking about, or they could have had that experience, but that would have been based on who they were trying to rent from, individual. All right. Does that make sense? I don't know what the rule is about that, frankly, Ms. Vojkovic, but do you understand that person telling you that may have been acting in good faith, but confused because maybe they, for instance, tried to rent for someone that told him that, but that may have just been that facility's individual policy and not a federal policy or rule or something.
I would like to ask if Kyle Engel could speak to you because she called and asked. She called KHRC, and you probably have heard of them. And she would like to tell what they told her.
Well, it's your case. If you want to call her as a witness, you can do that. But I understand Miss McElvain is saying if you're out by October 5th, we'll go along
October 15th.
October 15th, and you're not going to consider that a forceful eviction. It would be a voluntary leave, Miss McElvain, or what would your record show if you could say?
Well, our order would say that that the order that you just found that during the hearing that she agreed to be out by the 15th and that you didn't have to make an order of eviction or a wrongful detainer. And it would also show that if she wasn't, then we'd have this provision to be able to go forward to set her out. But it wouldn't have to say that she was, quote, evicted. It would just say that during the hearing, the court, that there was an agreement between the parties that she'd be out by October 15th. And as we feel it's in her best interest to do that, and if she doesn't like it up there, but also just considering everything that's happened with her, and it's certainly in our interest for the benefit of our other tenants to have the situation resolved for everybody.
All right. Well, what do you think about that, Ms. Vojkovic? Do you think that makes sense? Is that something you're interested in, or do you want me to make a decision and rule? Because I can certainly do that. I've heard enough from both sides. And I can still hear from your other witness if you want, but she's making you that proposal. What do you think?
I would go along with her proposal. It makes sense, but I still think that the accusations, most of them were lies and exaggerations, but I would go along with her proposal, and I would like Kyle Engel to also talk to you.
Well, does that, if we don't stop now, Ms. McElvain, does that stay open?
Well, Your Honor, I really just want to resolve this for everybody, not have this continue on. If she's the defendant and if she's willing to do this, if Kyle Engel has things that she wants, my number was on this petition when we filed it, and there's ways to get a hold of me. We're certainly willing as an organization to hear what people have to say. But to resolve this is what I'm asking now, to avoid going into a lot more for this hearing. And also, I'd like for Eric not to have to sit through a whole lot more of this. But so no, I guess it's open now. Otherwise, I'm going to withdraw it and we'll just go forward.
Okay. So you've got a decision to make pretty quickly. You're welcome to call your witness and keep fighting the eviction, or you can reach this agreement she's offering you.
Discuss this with Kyle, and her advice to me and my attitude towards it is I will accept her proposal and Kyle will not testify.
All right. Now, is Kyle your friend? Is she your neighbor? Both?
She's both.
Good Lord.
She's not a legal advisor, is
After all that crazy, she makes the right call. Good on her.
she? She's not an attorney?
She's not an attorney, but she did work for the justice system in a courthouse, and she also worked for an attorney, so she has more knowledge than a typical person who has never done either one of those things.
Okay, well, good. That's good you've got her, so she can help you make the best decision about this offer that's in front of you, maybe the best.
I lived near an astronaut once, so I think I'm basically an astronaut now.
You can based on what you have in front of you without your own attorney. All right, so based on what she's suggesting and what you come up with on your own, you wish to accept this offer to end the case now by agreement?
I wish to accept it.
All right. Well, Ms. McElvain, I'm going to consider this case is settled by agreement of the parties, and you will journalize it You said you did have a couple of things you wanted me to rule on for this journal entry, though, if it doesn't work out.
Yes, Your Honor, on the restitution, if she's not out by October 15th, we want to have the ability under the statute to remove her, just so we can get down the road and go forward.
Not have to come back to court. Okay.
Yes.
Does that sound agreeable and make sense to you, ma'am, Ms. Vujkovic?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I will find that and order that as the reason, but I want to be careful putting you in that position you want to stay out of, which is a formal declaration that you have legally been kicked out of a HUD housing. I understand that is your big concern. And Miss McIlvain's is her big concern is to just get you out and make everybody feel safe and so forth. So if we can reach that agreement, if you guys can reach that agreement, I'm not a party to your agreement, I'll be happy to approve that. But you
And
better
just to
start.
clarify that we would then have another like half month's rent, since she'd be there till October 15th, which would be $102.50.
Okay. What do you think about that? Does that sound fair?
Sounds fair. That's what I was thinking anyway.
All right. And when does that need to be paid?
So it needs to be paid by the 3rd of the month. So she's already paid for September, and I will go ahead and add that to our account for September for the 205. And then she would owe $102.50 by October 3rd.
Okay, that would cover you through the 15th, that right, Ms.
Correct.
McIlvain? Okay.
Correct.
Is that what you agreed to?
I agree with, however, in the lease it says we have till the 5th. And regarding the transportation program, I didn't really say enough about that, but that driver harassed me.
Well,
And
she's wanting to move along to cut the
Yeah.
short, what the court,
Yeah.
so.
Right.
if
You
they-
can have it till October 5th. October 5th is fine
To pay, but to
to
be out.
pay
by
your
the 15th.
$102.50.
Right.
Okay.
And then with regard to the damages, Your Honor, I guess if you want to do a ruling on the refrigerator, otherwise, after she's moved out, we could then go forward on damages if we need to.
Well, we can do it either way. We can do the refrigerator now or just put it in and wait and see what happens after she moves out if you find anything else of concern. But certainly, I can and will rule that damages should be reimbursed to the plaintiff. And I'm going to let them have some time to get in there and look. And if they find some damages, and that's customary when you leave a rental, if you've damaged it, you should pay for it. And they should be given some time to find that damage. If you haven't, great.
And how
Or if
about the refrigerator? Any damage specifically on the refrigerator that we've already, because that's already gone and left, and we know the damage there.
Yeah, it sounds like that there was some pretty disgusting leakage going on in the refrigerator when Mr. Holmes took it out. And it sounds like it was being used to minimize the health hazards with the flies and the bugs. Sounds like you were trying to keep that under control by putting it in the refrigerator. And I'm surprised it didn't work a little better. Frankly, you would have thought they would have frozen some of that bug infected material, but it didn't. It only made it worse. So, and that's probably because the electricity went off.
When it was off for almost a month.
Okay, so what I will do is I will grant that portion where the refrigerator will be reimbursed to the deposit. And are you seeking more than the deposit? You are, aren't you?
Well, we are, Your Honor. Quite frankly, between her financial situation, she may not be able to pay it. But if we can at least get the deposit at this point on the refrigerator, that will bring us
Okay.
somewhat forward.
Could that be an agreement between the parties that you get the deposit and kind of
For the refrigerator, yes, that would definitely be good
okay,
with us if we could use that deposit on the refrigerator.
and then not seek any more damages on the refrigerator, limit it to
Correct.
the deposit? How about that? Do you accept that offer where they keep that deposit of $264 that was made on, I believe, November 15th of 23, and that will be applied towards the $799 on the replacement and the moving it around, but you wouldn't have to pay any more than that. You wouldn't have to come up with any more cash, as I understand the offer, Ms. McElvain. You'd be willing
That's
to.
correct on the refrigerator, damage on the refrigerator, yes.
Now, if you've gone in there and kicked in the walls, that's a different story. They may still be able to recover damage, but if you haven't done anything like that, then that would pretty well cover you. That would take care of the refrigerator, which right now is the only damage I know of, and it would be the big ticket damage. So do you agree to that you can settle the refrigerator issue by letting them just keep your deposit of $264?
Don't think it's fair, but I will agree to it.
All right, well, as long as you agree to it and you're doing it without anybody forcing you to do that. Is this agreement all done at your own free will without feeling like you're being forced or threatened to do it?
Yes.
Okay, all right, well, I'll make that part of the record, and then again, if that works for your client's satisfaction, Miss McElvain, you can journalize that as well. And like I said, if you get in there and you find out she's kicked in all the walls and broken all the doors off the hinges, then we'll need to revisit that damage. You can or just tell you that you would be able to get in there and inspect and recover for that. Anything else I need to rule on right now, Miss McElvain, as far as you're concerned?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, thank you. And Ms. Vojkovic, I keep thinking I'm going to learn how to pronounce that name before this hearing is over, but do you have anything else we need to address before I let you go?
Please no.
I'm not hearing you right now. Go ahead.
Regarding after I leave, I would like someone to be present when they inspect the apartment, because I intend to leave it better than it was when I got there, because all the cleaning was not done when I got there. And I want to make sure that
Your Honor, we will have somebody there as long as it's at a reasonable hour. That we can have somebody up there as to what the condition of the apartment is. When she signed the lease, she agreed it was in good condition and it was clean, everything. So we don't need to go into that. But we are certainly willing to be there when she moves out, as long as it's at a reasonable time and not like at 11 or 12 at night or something.
And I think that's certainly appropriate. And I trust you would agree to that as being reasonable as well, ma'am. That you can have someone there, but not at night. It'd have to be during business hours. 9 to 5 usually. Not those are any set business hours, but.
And we're very flexible. We're willing to work with her, but only to a certain point.
Sure. Okay, well, that'll work for you, won't it, Miss Vojkovic?
that will be fine.
Okay, and you can put that in the paperwork too.
I will.
If it's a weekday 9 to 5 or whatever is reasonable. If you want to just make it as broad as reasonable, that's okay too, but that just opens the doors, for more argument. But it sounds like you two have come to, it's been a while, it took us a while to get through this hearing and we could go a lot longer on the hearing, but it sounds like you've come to a conclusion that to me seems reasonable and fair to both parties. So if there's nothing further from anyone, any reason why we shouldn't adjourn this hearing and let's conclude this trial?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, thank you, and thank you, ma'am. Yes?
Thank you, Your Honor. I think
You're
that
welcome.
you did a good job at justice.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'm glad you feel that way anytime you come to court. That's a good result. Unless the other side feels otherwise, and then they say that's a bad result. And there's some saying about that. In any event, I'm going to let you all go. Thank you all for your time and participation. And at this time, we are in adjournment. Everyone is excused. You can walk away, turn off your telephone, whatever you need to do. If you don't turn off your telephone, Missy can do it for you.
And thank you, Zach, for saving my stream over at Law Nerds Unite there. Show him some love. Go watch a vid. All right. That one was interesting and it was funny, but I didn't have the heart to pile on. We got to the right result in the end. She's in that weird phase where she's not all there, but she's also not all gone. She makes a lot of sense. And then she gets crazy. Her domestic terrorism and the Catholic Church, she's got issues. She's got some serious issues. No two ways about it. But at the end of this thing, it's a very reasonable result. I fear she's not going to find other housing. And that's I just think she's at the end of living independently, and that's kind of sad. That's all there is to it. Kind of reminds me of the old Tropic Thunder thing. I won't say it, but you never go full. And she didn't. She went half. She went about Forrest Gump level. Oh, so there you have it. All right. Yeah, I'm in my feels now. That's as close to sympathetic as I'm going to get. And it's not going to get that good again. All right. Thanks for coming out. I appreciate it.